was talking about consistency, valuing consistency in my life as an expression of my identity and taking that consistency and applying it to sports card collecting. Recognizing that in order for me to create something beautiful, I have to be consistent in the principles that I try to adhere to and their application of them. And even though I have a budget that allows me to pick up the occasional low end card, if I'm picking up too many cards, I'll never really achieve that goal of just a small, beautiful collection of treasures. So along the way to creating this beautiful collection, I'd started also a little side PC of my favorite player, Nick Bosa, who plays my favorite position, defensive end, for my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. And although Nick Bosa is a defensive player, which makes his cards relatively affordable, little by little, the cards add up, and I took stock of what I had. I love what I have. I have 20 Nick Bosa cards, most of them gold, most of them serial numbered out of 10. Most of them I just don't need because there is a contradiction that keeps me from being consistent. That contradiction being fewer and better. Well, I have a handful of really good cards, but I don't need all of these gold out of 10 inserts. They're neat. But it's not going to make me a bigger fan of Nick Bosa. It's not going to necessarily make me a better collector. And as I was on eBay exploring all the wonderful cards that are being sold with the 49ers on the cusp of the Super Bowl, I realized this is actually a much better time to sell Nick Bosa than to buy Nick Bosa. So about a week ago, I sold my first 2022 gold prism out of 10. I posted a 2023 gold shimmer also out of 10. And I had a third gold prism 2022 out of 10. I kept the PSA 10, sold one. I have another one on auction right now. And then I kept going. Last night, I actually listed 11 more. I'm going to show them to you in a little video clip here. Got the RPA and a bunch of golds out of 10, prism, optic, select, mostly inserts, but a couple bases from select and optic. Got a white sparkle. I don't need a card that's called a white sparkle. A couple of them are graded. That last one's the Nick Bosa 2022 Prism Gold Unstoppable. A lot of nice cards, but actually, I don't need them. Fewer and better. I can have a Nick Bosa PC that's only one card. I still collect Nick Bosa. So they're listed right now on eBay. All of them are up for auction. All of them are spaced across Saturday evening. I feel good about it. Most of them I picked up off season, weird times, February, April, July. A few I picked up earlier in the 2023 season. All but 6 I'm ready to sell. I kept the Prism Gold bases. I kept a couple of Obsidian Red, the team all out of 26, because I just think the red Obsidian, they are so incredible. Of course, I kept my 2019 Kaboom, whether you like it or not. This was not supposed to be a 2-part episode. Something happened with my audio last episode, so here I am finishing it up. Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I am your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. Welcome to episode 57, Forgotten Cardboard, the 1955 Bowman Shantz brothers. Didn't know they get their own episode. They don't have their own episode, but their card is worthy of the title, episode 57, Forgotten cardboard, 1955 Bowman, Shantz brothers. We're back to the ball game, top half of the sixth. Gooden coming out for inning number 2. We actually covered the action in this inning back in episodes 45 and 46. Dwight Gooden of the imagination, Dwight Gooden of reality. Taking over in left field from the Montreal Expos, outfielder Timmy Raines, and at first base from the New York Mets, Keith Hernandez. I recently did add a very small item, more of a display for the basement. I'm going to show it to you on the channel. This is the 1983 cello pack, PSA 9, so an unopened cello of 1983. The top card that I'm showing you, 1982 stolen base leaders. On the right side of the card, that's Tim Raines, who led the National League with 78 stolen bases. And next to him, of course, none other than the all-time greatest base stealer, greatest leadoff hitter of all time from the Oakland Athletics, or Rickey Henderson. What's really awesome about this cello, this is the year, right? 1982, shown on a 1983 card. 1982, Rickey Henderson stole 130 bases, and it was electric. I remember when he was chasing Lou Brock's 118, how incredibly exciting it was in the Bay. That was Billy Martin. That was Billy Ball. He may have been pitching his pitchers till their arms fell off, but sure was entertaining. And Rickey Henderson had the green light all day, every day. Oh, how exciting was it? Rickey, oh my God, the head first slide, stealing third base. Third base. When you steal third base, you don't give a you know what. Oh my God, head first into the bag. I love it. So a chance to grab the cello. Unopens have really come down in price since the peak. People went crazy. People who came into the hobby who didn't really understand scarcity overpaid for a lot of things that are readily available. Meanwhile, and simultaneously, people who held a lot of unopened were submitting it to PSA. So the combination of people originally overpaying, right? And then they realized, wait, there's plenty of this out there. And then simultaneously, PSA caught up and people had kept submitting unopened for encapsulation. And all of a sudden, I picked this up on REA recently for a pittance. What a fabulous, fabulous item to display. 1983, highlighting the 1982 stolen base leaders, Rickey Henderson and Tim Raines, who just took over in left field for San Diego Padre Tony Gwynn. Gooden on the hill, Whitaker up again. He hits a little dribbler back to Doc. Doc takes it unassisted to the bag, one away. And this really interesting image flashes up on the screen. I talked to it once before back in episode 46. I'm going to show it to you right here. Back in 46, we talked about the two on the bottom. This is a graphic listing an all-star record, 3 strikeouts in an inning, the only batters they faced. All-star record, 3 Ks in an inning, striking out the side. There were 6 listed. We spent time on Fernando Valenzuela, the 5th player listed. He struck out the side back in the 4th inning. You know Fernando, he covered him back in episode 33, La Exención de Fernando. The Fernando exemptions I give to players I love on teams I hate. Of course, there's Fernando. On the Lakers, there's Kareem, there's Magic, there's Shaquille O'Neal. Who else? Well, Reggie as a Yankee. Players I love on teams I just hate. That's Fernando. He struck out the side in the 4th, becoming the 5th player all time. The 6th player was last inning. That was Doc. We did a deep dive into him. We also talked in that same episode about the 3rd player listed on this list, Boston Braves pitcher Gene Conley, who did it in 1955, striking out the side. What's neat about Gene? Gene won a World Series and he won an NBA title with the Boston Celtics. Just below him, Jerry Royce struck out the side 1980, did a deep dive into the big blonde lefty back in episode 26, a blonde, a goldie, and an albino. The albino, of course, the albino in that movie Foul Play, who terrified me. And for some reason, Jerry Royce's fair hair and light skin always reminded me of that Goldie Hawn Chevy Chase. What was that? Like a romantic comedy cop flick with the albino. The only two guys left on the list are Johnny Sain and Bobby Shantz, and that's where we are going next. Johnny Sain did it for the Boston Braves in 1948. Bobby Shantz did it for the Philadelphia Athletics 1952. Let's start with Johnny Sain. Johnny Sain, what do you know about Johnny Sain? You know, spawn and Sain and pray for rain. In fact, Howard, when he sees the graphic, says just those words, Spawn and Sain, pray for rain, part of a longer poem written in September 1948 by a Boston sports writer. The Braves are going for the pennant that year, September 1948, and they did not have much beyond Warren Spahn and Johnny Sain. Labor Day weekend, Spahn throws a 14-inning complete game. Sain comes back on 2 days rest, throws a complete game shutout, and then it rains for 2 straight days. Spahn and Sain. And if you're a Braves fan, you better pray for rain. 1948, Johnny Sain had a monster year, finished second in the NL MVP voting behind Stan Musial. Amazing career. Pitched 11 years, 29.3 WAR, career record 139 and 116. 3-time World Series winner as a pitcher. He'll come back later, win one more as a pitching coach. 1968 Detroit Tigers. 3-time Sain an all-star. For as good as he was as a pitcher, he might have even been better as a pitching coach. Always committed to his craft, always spoke his truth. One of the earliest adapters of positive psychology in sports, really emphasized to his pitchers the power of positive thinking. Was a pitching coach for 6 teams. Most notably the Yankees 1961 through 1963, where he helped turn Whitey Ford into a 20-game winner under Johnny Sain. Ford won 25, Ford won 24, moved over and became the pitching coach with the Minnesota Twins, helped lead that staff to an appearance in the 1965 World Series. Future Hall of Famer Jim Cott, along with Jim Perry and Mudcat Grant, then moved on to Detroit 1967. He moved around because he was outspoken, by the way. He moved around because Johnny Sain did not suffer fools gladly. 1967, he's with Detroit. Oh my God, you know that staff. Mickey Lolich, Denny McClain, the last to win 30. Wins, of course, that 1968 World Series. Keeps going. By 1973, he's the pitching coach for the Chicago White Sox. Great staff there, led by that big chunky knuckler Wilbur Wood. I got to get a Wilbur Wood card in my PC. Wilbur Wood that year, 1973, becomes the last pitcher. No one has done it since Wilbur Wood started both ends of a doubleheader. Just keep throwing, Will. Wilbur Wood started both ends of a doubleheader. That staff had a bunch of good pitchers on it. Kitty Cat, Jim Cat came over, was on that staff. Future tub of goo, Terry Forster. Goose Gossage was a young pitcher. Steve Stone, a future Cy Young Award winner. And of course, Wilbur Wood. The card I'm going to show you of Johnny Sain is the cheapest Johnny Sain card I could find. 1973 pitching coach Johnny Sain, featured on the coach's card with manager Chuck Tanner. There it is. I ordered this from Burbank Cards and they sent me a miscut. Right? This is not the picture they displayed on the page. And I wrote to them and said, hey, I didn't expect a near mint card, but you sent me a miscut. I want a refund. And they said, we'll give you a partial refund. I said, I don't want a partial refund. I want all $1.58 back, darn it. They were cool. They gave it back to me. On the card, Chuck Tanner is joined by Joe Lynette, Jim Maloney, Al Monchak, and of course, there at the bottom, pitching coach Johnny Sain, a young, svelte Chuck Tanner. Got that cool White Sox hat in the red. Definitely taken before a game at the Oakland Coliseum. There's a huge, disproportionate number of baseball cards in the 70s that were photographed either at Candlestick Park for the National League or the Oakland Coliseum for the A's. This is definitely, you can see the 1, 2, 3 tiered stadium. Chuck Tanner, 1973 White Sox. There's the back. Also, a miscut Johnny Sain, Spawn, and Sain, and Pray for Rain, one of 6 pitchers to strike out the side. Then we go to the next one. The 6th and final one is Bobby Shantz, who pitched from 1949 to 1964, mostly with the Philadelphia Athletics, also pitched for the Yankees and several other teams. He too was a 3-time All-Star. He won 8 Gold Gloves. You never heard of Bobby Shantz, right? 3-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove winner, 34.6 WAR, won 119 games, like I said, primarily for the Philadelphia, and then the Kansas City Athletics. Really came from humble origins. He and brother Billy Shantz, sons to Father Wilmer, who worked in the steel mill in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Grew up in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, eventually moved to Philadelphia, where Father Wilmer had an opportunity to get a job down on the docks. Bobby Shantz, little guy. He was 4'4" in high school. When he went to join the Army, he was under 5 foot and they turned him away. He later served because he grew a little bit. Ultimately topped out right around 5'6". This little teeny tiny guy, but had a great arm. Could move it, could spot it, changing speeds, changing arm angles, was a tough player, a tough pitcher to hit. How good was Bobby Shantz? In 1952, Bobby Shantz won the American League Most Valuable Player. I know, it was news to me too. Went 24-7 in 1952. Check this out. In all 24 of Shantz's wins, the guy threw a complete game. 24-7 with 29 complete games. That means he got 24 complete game victories and he threw complete games in 5 losses. Man, just a different brand of baseball. What do you think about that? Do you like it when they just pitch like their hair's on fire, go twice through the order and sit down? Or do you like it when guys had to have a little bit more guile, had to have a little bit more stamina and pitch a little deeper into the game? We're allowed to work out of trouble, right? Where numbers didn't dictate each and every decision. Listen, I'm all for advanced metrics, but you still got to play the game. Perhaps there's a balance between the two. Perhaps 29 complete games would be too much in 2024, but man, I love a stud number one, an ace. An ace is my favorite position in all of sports. A great number one, a horse, a guy who takes it every 5th day. There's just not that many of them left anymore. Kind of the Max Scherzer, Verlander. So there's very few guys like that. Bobby Shantz was a little dude, not built like either of them. 5'6", was a good pitcher. Gets drafted and convinces the Philadelphia Athletics to also sign his brother, Billy Shantz. Now, Billy was a catcher. Billy was a much more limited player. Across his career, he only has about 800 at-bats. Not even that many at-bats, right? Only plays in 131 games. mostly between 1954 and 1955, has a short career. Before I show you what I'm going to show you, before I show you that beautiful piece of forgotten cardboard, the 1955 Bowman Shantz Brothers card, I want to show you a different card. Now, I think a lot of you are familiar with this one. This is the 1954 Topps beautiful orange vertical Ed and John O'Brien, shortstop and second base for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's a beautiful card. Shows the brothers. You know, I always thought they were kneeling, but if you look at the card, they're actually in a like a long lunge, almost a crouch, but their back knees are not quite touching the earth. They've each got a bat on their right shoulders. The thing about this card is, as cool as it is, these guys were lousy ball players, right? The guy on the left there, Ed O'Brien, plays in the big leagues off and on, 1954 to 1958, amasses a negative 1.8 WAR across 554 trips to the plate. Not a power hitter, and he never hit a home run. The guy next to him, Johnny O'Brien, plays parts of 53, 55 through 59. Across his career, has a 0.0 WAR. He's the one with the 800 plus at bats. Neither of the O'Brien brothers is much of a big leaguer, but they have a fantastic card. Yeah, you've probably heard of this card. You might own this card. However, have you ever seen this card? Do you have this card? This one highlights the Shantz boys. All right. There's Bobby Shantz on the left, Billy Shantz on the right, wearing those great Philadelphia Athletics uniforms. Really, really beautiful. I got that 55 Bowman design. It's a love-hate. I actually love it. I love the television set. It's so emblematic of the times. 1950, almost nobody has a television. By the end of the decade, almost everybody has a television in their living room. So how perfect is it to celebrate that evolution with the design? It looks like a TV. This is Bowman on the way out, the last cards they ever produced. I'm not lying to myself. It's not a 53 Bowman color, but I still like it. A brother's card. Oh, Sharky, wouldn't it be cool if we were big leaguers? After we were stuntmen and bounty hunters, if we were pro ball players and we had a card, Dave and Mark Spinrad. That would have been amazing. Highly recommend adding this to your collection. It's very, very affordable. Bobby and Billy Shantz, 1955 Bowman. Didn't expect to be doing this second episode. As I said, I had some audio problems and I struggle. There are definitely things I could be doing to improve the overall audio visual experience. I did finally break down and run an Ethernet cable all the way down the stairs into the basement, so I have a little bit better streaming capacity. But I have an old computer and I have live problems. I had audio problems, which made me cut episode 56 in half and do this one again early on a Sunday morning. If you were sitting where I'm sitting, it is still dark out. It is not yet morning. Nobody else is awake except for me, the early riser. Before I wrap it up for tonight, for this morning, I want to give a shout out to Dave Schwartz, Iowa Dave Sports Cars. Congratulations, Mazel Tov, Dave, on acquiring one of my very favorite cards, the 1993 Topps Finest Barry Bonds, the refractor. Saw him posted on Instagram. Such an awesome card and such a significant card, right? Dave bought it raw, graded it, came back a PSA 6, which is fabulous, right? Because you are in it. You have the card. It's a nice one. I am so stoked for you, Dave. 1993 Finest. I know you're a Bonds fan. I know you're a Bonds collector. I'm a huge Bonds fan. I was there for so much of his career. I was there in his first appearance at Candlestick Park in a Giants uniform, April 1993. It's the first road game played by the Florida Marlins, and it was the Giants were in total disarray. They had ownership change, security was all over the place. I had just graduated college and I was working as a vendor They had us get there so ridiculously early because nobody knew what was going on. There was no security. And so I got there early and I just walked all the way down to the field, sat in the third base dugout. Candlestick Park had these really like simple dugouts. They were not much better than Little League dugouts. They were just a long wooden bench with a back to it and a cover, not a step down. They were field level. Remember taking a sip out of the water fountain like a big leaguer, sitting on the bench. And then all of a sudden out comes Jerry Garcia and Vince and Bobby from the Grateful Dead. They were warming up to sing the national anthem, April 1993, and there I sat watching the Dead harmonize, getting ready to sing the anthem. Game starts. I'm vending. I don't remember what I was selling. Let's say I was selling chocolate malts. Selling malts that day. Bonds is up his first at bat as a Giant. And remember, Bonds, I think, signed, I think it was 6 years, $42 million. People are like, oh my God, he's making $7 million a year. It's too much money. His first at bat, Barry Bonds hits a bomb to right field. A massive, majestic home run. First at bat at Candlestick Park. And nobody said a word ever again. Barry Bonds, 1993 Topps Finest. That's his first appearance in a Giants uniform on a Topps card, I do believe. What a season. Remember 1996, Bonds goes 40-40. I remember when Bonds becomes the first player to go 400, 400, 500, 500. Say what you want about Bonds. And yeah, he definitely was on something. He was definitely juicing. His head was enormous. But how many MVPs? I didn't even bother. I didn't plan this. What did he win? 6 MVPs? 7 MVPs? Right? 2001, he hit 73 home runs. Unbelievable. And you were there and you loved it, but you may have forgotten. After he hits 73 home runs, he comes back the next year and hits 370. Check out his numbers, right? Check out his numbers. They are extraordinary. Guy's a Hall of Famer. It's ridiculous that Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame and Barry Bonds is not. Man, next thing you're going to tell me that Todd Helton is in the Hall of Fame and Roger Clemens isn't. It's absurd. When I go to the Hall of Fame, I want to see the stars that define the sport. If I want to, come on, man. No Bonds, no Clemens, no Pete Rose, but we get Craig Biggio. How many people tell their kids, oh, I saw Craig Biggio. Yeah, he went 2 for 5, turned a nifty double play. Dad, were those home? No. He had a bouncer, got through the hole between first and second. Later came around to score. It was incredible. Hall of Fame worthy. Just burying Craig Biggio early in the morning. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Mazel tov to you, Iowa Dave, on that fine acquisition of a 1993 Topps Finest Barry Bonds, the refractor. I look forward to the day when I get to be your Bonds brother. That's all for now. Until we meet again, may you be blessed and may you enjoy health and long life. So long for now.